Breaking news. Something is brewing in Berea, and if you're a Browns fan, you can feel it in the air. Training camp is about to begin, and everything we've been speculating about for weeks is about to become reality. But here's the thing, this isn't just another training camp. There are stories that could shape the future of this franchise, and I'm telling you right now, you'll want to watch every snap, because what happens in the coming weeks could determine what kind of team the Cleveland Browns will be this season. And yes, some of the names we'll discuss could make a difference on this roster. The rookies reported today, July 18th. The veterans will arrive on July 22nd. And there's already drama before the first whistle. Quinton Judkins still hasn't signed his contract. No, this isn't just a normal delay for a rookie contract. The Browns aren't exactly rushing to get his signature after that domestic violence arrest. There are 89 other players to discuss, and that's where the Real story lies right now, but there's no way to pretend this isn't a distraction. Fans are wondering, does this mean Judkins won't make the team this year? Are we looking at a wasted draft pick before he even gets on the field? It's something to keep an eye on, but the Browns seem focused on the rest of the roster, and honestly, there's a lot more going on that will matter in the near future. And let's talk about the quarterback situation, because I know that's where every single fan's attention is locked. This is hands down the most fascinating quarterback battle in the NFL right now. Forget what you've heard elsewhere, no other team has this many moving pieces. Joe Flacco, the veteran, is sitting there with more experience than the other quarterbacks combined, and yet the Browns are about to test something risky. Kenny Pickett. Yes, Kenny Pickett, the former first-rounder from Pittsburgh, is going to get a real shot here. The Browns want to know if Pickett can be that revival story, the same way Baker Mayfield found new life in Tampa, the same way Geno Smith shocked the world in Seattle. They're giving him a chance to show that his talent, which once made him a first-round pick, can actually translate here in Cleveland. If it works, great. If not, well, that's where things get even more intriguing. Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are waiting in the wings, but don't get too excited, rookie quarterbacks, especially those not taken in the first round, rarely get serious reps with the first-team offense this early. There's just too much at stake for the rest of the roster to throw a rookie into chaos when he's not ready. It's unfair to the offensive line, to the wide receivers, to force them into a 2-minute drill with a quarterback who still looks like a college player out there. History tells us this almost never works. Outside of guys like Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson, it's a long shot. But keep your eyes open, because every now and then, training camp delivers a surprise, and the Browns would love nothing more than for one of these young quarterbacks to shine. Still, the safe bet right now is Pickett early, with Joe Flacco always looming as that safety net. Old reliable. If Pickett doesn't prove himself, the Browns won't hesitate to go back to Flacco, and that's going to make every rep in this camp feel like it has playoff implications, because, frankly, it does. But quarterbacks aren't the only story, and honestly, there's one name I'm just as curious about, Cedric Tillman. Last year, he looked like he was ready to step into that WR2 role after Amari Cooper was traded, but then the concussion hit, and his season ended abruptly. Now, he's healthy, or at least, we hope he's healthy. That's the question, right? Can he truly bounce back? Can he complement Jerry Jeudy, who was phenomenal last year? Because here's the reality, when the Browns run into elite corners like Pat Surtain, Sauce Gardner, or Derek Stingley, there will be games when Jeudy is locked down. That's when you need a second receiver who can carry the load, who can force defenses to adjust, and right now, the Browns are betting that guy is Cedric Tillman. But is he ready? Does he have the consistency to become that reliable weapon? Training camp will tell us a lot, and I don't know about you, but I'll be watching every rep he takes. And speaking of health, let's be honest, this team's biggest enemy over the past few years hasn't been its opponents, it's been injuries. And we can't talk about that without mentioning Dwayne Jones. The big man at left tackle had some great moments last year, but the season-ending injury was a brutal blow. The big question now is, how does he look coming back? Has he managed to get his weight under better control? Because when you're close to 400 pounds, you're putting an incredible amount of stress on your knees and ankles. If he's dropped 25 or 30 pounds, if he's closer to 375, that could be a game changer, not just for his conditioning but for his long-term durability. But if he's still struggling, then watch out for Kevin Jenkins. And yes, Kevin Jenkins is another fascinating name. He was a second-round pick by the Bears, and when healthy, he was their best offensive lineman. The problem? Staying healthy. He's had back issues since college and has missed too many snaps in Chicago, often starting games but not finishing them. If he can stay on the field, he could be a steal for the Browns. That's just scratching the surface, and trust me, there's a lot more to dig into with this offensive line and the rest of the roster as camp begins. But before we move on, I want to know what you think. Should the Browns give Kenny Pickett a real shot to win the starting job, or should they play it safe and stick with Joe Flacco from the start? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them all because I want to know where the dog-pound stands on this quarterback battle. Now, let's dive deeper because the quarterback battle and Cedric Tillman's recovery are just part of the big picture. The real turning point for this team might come down to how healthy the roster is when the season kicks off, and I'm telling you right now, there are some names you absolutely need to keep on your radar. Let's go back to Dwayne Jones for a second, because this isn't just about him getting in shape. This is about whether the Browns' offensive line can survive another year of injury setbacks. Andrew Berry learned his lesson last offseason about overhyping guys coming back from injuries, so the Browns aren't making any bold statements right now, and that silence tells you something. Jones had that surgery, and even though reports suggest he's progressing, we won't know how stable that knee is until he's out there going up against Myles Garrett and this ferocious defensive front. If he's still limited, if he's still moving cautiously, the Browns will have to lean more on Kevin Jenkins, which is risky considering his own injury history. And speaking of Jenkins, he's such a wild card. When healthy, he's exactly the type of lineman this offense needs. Strong, technical, and nasty in the trenches. But will he hold up? His back issues have been a problem since Oklahoma State, and in Chicago, fans got used to seeing him leave games early. You don't want that inconsistency here, especially when protecting whoever wins that quarterback battle is priority number 1. And don't forget Mike Hall. That knee injury he suffered, followed by another surgery, is one of those situations everyone kind of forgot about in the offseason. But I haven't, and neither should you. Is he going to start camp on the PUP list? If he does, that's a big red flag for this defensive rotation. Remember last year, when the Browns reported to Greenbrier and suddenly Greg Newsome and Dalvin Tomlinson were on the PUP list? Fans were blindsided, and it's a reminder that teams often keep injuries under wraps until camp. Don't be shocked if the Browns announce some unexpected PUP list additions in the coming days. And as frustrating as it is, they won't rush anyone in late July. This team knows the real games aren't until September. But let's shift gears for a moment because there's a bigger question surrounding this roster. How much pressure is there on this team to get it right now? Think about it, the Browns have been dealing with quarterback instability. For years, they've had star players constantly going down with injuries, and fans are tired of waiting for them next year. There's a sense of urgency here that we haven't felt in a long time, and that makes this training camp different. Every position battle feels bigger. Every snap matters more. And you can feel that tension building already. Let's circle back to that wide receiver room because, honestly, that might be the key to unlocking this offense. Jerry Jeudy can be great, but if teams take him out of the game, someone else has to step up. Cedric Tillman is the obvious choice. But what if he's not ready? What if that concussion has lingering effects? It's one thing to be cleared to play, but another to be truly ready to go full speed against NFL defenders. If Tillman struggles, who's next? Do the Browns have enough depth at wide receiver to compete with top-tier secondaries? These are the kinds of questions this training camp has to answer. And finally, we have to talk about Deshaun Watson, because even though his name hasn't been at the center of this conversation, you can't ignore the fact that he's still here. He's still lurking in the background. The Browns aren't going to rush him, but you know fans are thinking about it. If Pickett struggles, if Flacco can't carry this team late in the season, does Watson step back into the picture at some point? The coaching staff isn't talking about it publicly, but you have to imagine those conversations are happening behind closed doors. So, here's what I want you to do. Training camp starts now, and this is when we separate hype from reality. I'll be covering every major development, every big play, every injury update, because this is the moment when we find out what kind of Cleveland Browns team we really have this year. And I want you, the fans, to be part of this conversation with me. Do you think Kenny Pickett can really be that revival story? Do you trust Cedric Tillman to become that solid WR2? And what about the offensive line? Are you worried about Duan Jones and Kevin Jenkins, or do you think this unit will hold up once the season begins? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because I want to know where you stand on all of this. And listen, if you're as excited as I am to see how this all unfolds, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. Training camp is here, and we're going to break down every storyline together, all the way to week 1. The dog pound deserves answers, and we're going to find them, step by step, right here,